Alright everybody, so last month I took the trip back up to Commerce here in LA to play the $400 Mixed Omaha tournament here at the LAPC. So there's 3 games in total, 2 of which are pot limit, 1 of which is limit. So the 2 pot limit are going to be Omaha 8 or better and Big O, and the limit version is going to be the Omaha 8 or better. So let's get into it. We're down to 22 players. This hand picks up on the flop of King 10-8. I have Ace King King 3 single suited, and I'm not going to mess around here. I just lead for the full pot. And the late position player in the cutoff, her name's Robin. Really nice lady. She's pretty much owned me in every hand that we've played together. She goes ahead and shoves over the top, over to the button, who tanks for a while and eventually folds. And of course, I'm happy to call in. So we're going heads up to a run out. As per the rules of the tournament, Robin turns over her hand and shows Ace 9-7-2 for the open-ended straight draw as well as the backdoor low draw. The turn brings a dagger to my heart and a 6. So obviously going to need some help here. And the river does give us some help with an 8. So fortunate to fill up there on the river and get a much needed double up. For some reason, they only allow 7 players per table. 1 player gets eliminated, so we do a 3-table redraw with 21 players remaining. We're playing fixed limit Omaha 8. I look down at Ace Ace 5-3 Rainbow on the button, over to Perry in late position, who makes it 12,000. I make the call and everyone else folds, so we're going heads up to a flop. Flop comes Queen 10-8 Rainbow. Perry checks and I check back as well, so still going heads up to a turn. Turn brings a 4. Perry now bets 12,000 and I quickly make the call, so we're going heads up to a river. The river brings another 4. Perry doesn't slow down and bets another 12,000, and I have no choice but to make the call here. He turns over Ace King 4-4 for the rivered quads, and he's going to take it down. And that's kind of the problem with limit is you really can't get people off of a hand. You know, I asked Perry later if I bet the flop if he would have folded, and he said no, as obviously he had a gutter. So, save myself some money here. The money bubble just burst. There's only 13 players left with $720 locked up. I look down at Ace Jack 8-3-3, double suited on the button. Folds to me, I make it 12,000. And over to Robert in the big blind. He's a player from Germany. He lives pretty close to the King's Casino over there. He makes the call, so we're going heads up to a flop. Flop brings 4-3-2 Rainbow. Robert checks. I see bet 20,000. He doesn't waste too much time before check raising all in, and he does have me covered. And if he has Ace 5, oh well, it's pretty unfortunate, but I am one of the shorter stacks, and I gotta get enough chips here to kind of survive these ridiculously high blinds. So I quickly call, and we're going heads up to a run out. The turn brings the Queen of Spades. River brings in the backdoor flush with a 7 of spades. Robert turns over his hand. He has 9-5-5-4-2. So he made a lower flush and a lower low, and we're gonna scoop it here. Shortly after the previous hand, I looked down at Ace Jack 7-6-2 double suited in the small blind. Now we're playing Big O. Over to a late position player who makes it 14,000. Folds to me, I make the call, and the big blind also calls. We're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop brings 8-5-3 with 2 diamonds. I check, big blind checks to the late position player who c-bets 14,000. I don't waste any time before check shoving, obviously with a nut low, open-ended straight draw, and nut flush draw. Big blind folds, and late position makes the call. So we're going heads up to a run out. My opponent turns over his hand. He has Ace Ace 10-4-2. So he also has the nut low with some redraws. Turn brings a 6 of clubs. River brings a Jack of spades. So it does give us 2 pair. But now my opponent has a straight as well as the nut low. So I think I like my hand a little bit better on the flop. But regardless, they're both pretty strong. And he's going to take down 3/4 here. The very next hand, I look down at Ace Queen 9-4-3 single suited on the button. There's 1 late position caller. I also call, small blind does as well, and big blind checks. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes out Ace 7-5 Rainbow, checks to me, I bet 12K, and only Robert in the big blind makes the call. So we're going heads up to a turn. The turn brings a pretty good card for us on a 6. Robert checks, and with under a pot size bet left, I just put it all in the middle. Robert counts out a potential call and does just that, and we're going heads up to a river. Robert turns over his hand. He has Ace King 6-5-4. River brings a 7, so no improvement for him, and we're going to double up here again through Robert. There's 9 players remaining. I look down at Ace Ace King 8 double suited in the big blind in fixed limit Omaha 8. The button makes it 30K, folds to me, and I make the call. So we're going heads up to a flop. Just to give a little insight, the player on the button is the same player that had the Ace Ace 10-4-2 a little earlier. He's been the chip leader for the last couple hours, so as a result, he's been kind of raising pretty frequently, just knowing he can push people around. So when the flop comes out Queen Jack 5 Rainbow, I don't assume this flop's going to hit him too hard, so I bet 15K and he makes the call. So we're going heads up to a turn. The turn brings another jack. I check. He now bets 30K, and I think for a bit, but make the call. So we're going heads up still to a river. River brings a 4. I check again. He doesn't slow down and bets 30K. And while I don't necessarily think he's bluffing, it's just really tough for me to put him on a hand. As I mentioned, he's played a lot of hands. So I reluctantly toss in the 30K, and he turns over his hand. He has King 5-5-2. So, as I thought, didn't really think he had that strong of a hand, but obviously got there, and he's going to take it down. Shortly after the previous hand, a player gets eliminated, so we are down to the final table of 8, and we got 970 locked up. Before I can really even play a hand, a player gets eliminated, so down to 7, but now I'm the short stack, and I look down at Ace-Jack 7-3 single suited under the gun, and don't really have many big blinds left, so I go ahead and pot it, and over to the small blind who makes a call, and big blind calls as well. So we're going 3 ways to a flop. The flop comes Ace-10-6 with 2 clubs. The small blind now bets 50K, and both he and the big blind are pretty deep at this point. The big blind tanks for a while and ends up folding, and of course with my little chips left, I make the call. So we're going heads up to a run out. My opponent turns over Ace-King-Jack-3 double suited, so I'm going to definitely need some help here. Turn doesn't do it with another 10. River brings an 8, so he still has the better high hand, but we make the low and chop it up here. Shortly after the previous hand, we're now on Limit Omaha 8. I look down at 7-6-4-3 single suit in the big blind. Folds all the way to the small blind who makes it 40K. And although it's not a great hand, it's definitely good enough to push. So that's what I do. And of course he makes the call. So we're going heads up to a run out. It'll be hard to see from the video, but my opponent has King Jack 9-7 single suited. We go to flop of 6-5-2 with 2 spades. So pretty good flop for us, obviously. Turn brings the Jack of diamonds. So my opponent is almost drawing dead, and the river brings a 3, and that's going to seal it for us. So definitely getting a much needed double up here. We lost another player in a hand I wasn't involved in, so now down to 6. Here I look down at King Queen 5-3 double suited under the gun. Again, the short stack, and either got to go with this hand or the next hand. So I decide this is the hand and make it 40K. Over to a late position player who makes it 60. Folds back to me, and of course I make the call. So we're going heads up to a run out. Perry is my opponent in this hand. He turns over Ace-Ace-10-6. We end up going to a flop of King 6-3 with 2 spades. Turn brings another king. River brings a 4. So I have a full house, and neither of us have a low. So I'm going to take it down here. Still 6-handed. We're now on Big O. I look down at Ace-5-4-3-2, single suited in the hijack. Folds to me. I pot it to 56K. Over to Perry on the button who makes the call, and everyone else folds. So we're going heads up to a flop. Flop comes Jack 7-5 with 2 spades. I put the rest of the chips in the middle, and Perry quickly calls. So we're going heads up to a run out. Perry turns over Ace-9-6-3-2. So we both have a bunch of straight draws, low draws. Turn brings a Jack. River brings a 6. So now gives me the nut low as well as a straight. So we're going to get 3/4 of the pot here against Perry. A couple hands after the previous hand, Jason from Oklahoma City got eliminated in 6th place, so we're down to 5-handed. When I look down at Ace-10-9-5-3 double suited in the small blind, folds to the cutoff who makes it 35K, folds to me, and he's definitely likely to steal here. My hand's also pretty good, so I go ahead and essentially put it all in. Back to him who thinks for a bit and puts me all in, and of course I make the call. So we're going heads up to a run out. My opponent turns over his hand. He has Ace-King-Jack-Jack-4. So, seems like a pretty fair fight here. Flop comes out 4-3-2 rainbow. Turn brings the queen of clubs, now giving my opponent a backdoor flush draw. River does not help him with the 6 of spades, so we're going to get the full double up here. I wasn't involved in this hand, but we had 2 players all in on the flop of Queen Jack 10 with 2 clubs. Pair to my left has the King Queen of clubs, and player to my right has the Ace King for the flop straight. Turn seals it with a 9 of clubs, and river doesn't matter with a 9, and we are now down to 4-handed. Player got eliminated in 4th place, and it's me, Robert to my left, and Perry, who both have significantly bigger stacks than myself. Shortly into 3-handed play, I'm still the severe short stack. I look down at Ace-10-3-3 single suited on the button. I make it 80K, folds over to Perry in the big blind who makes the call. So we're going heads up to a flop. Flop comes Jack 9-3 with 2 diamonds. Perry checks. I put my remaining chips in the middle, and he quickly calls. So we're going heads up to a run out. Perry turns over 10-7-6-5 double suited, so he's got a gutter and some backdoor draws. Turn brings a 9, so that's going to seal it. River doesn't matter with an ace, and we're going to get a double up here. Me and Robert ended up getting all the money in pre-flop. The flop comes out Queen 7-6 rainbow. Turn brings a queen. River doesn't give us any help with a 9, so we are eliminated in 3rd place for $3,810.
What's up, guys? Wayne back here with you. So
Played for a little bit over 14 hours. You know, I guess in these chop pot games, that's kind of usual. You know, I ended up playing a tournament the week after this tournament, a $600 Raz. Ended up getting 16th, which didn't pay anything, but had a lot of fun. And I ended up finding out that Perry ended up taking it down. So congrats to Perry and Robert for their first and second place finish. Definitely had a lot of fun with this tournament, as I mentioned, looking to mix in more of them in the future. So if you guys haven't seen the previous episode, I'm going to link it up here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.